Self-love, you know, how do I discover that for myself? All of us sitting here, and because we're not programmed for it. How do I discover and continuously keep doing it? Because the challenge that we feel sometimes, and most of the time with clients that probably you would have handled, is compromising on your career is a guilt that we carry to our graves. Compromising as a mother, how do I take charge of that?
So I think before I come to the self-love issue, I will talk about the cultural conditioning, which is again at the core of self-love and not being able to love ourselves. I looked at 3 aspects of women and cultural conditioning in the country specifically. And I look at some of the archetypes that we have. So when we look at pro-guilt generating archetypes, we have the self-sacrificing and silently suffering Sita. We all want to be Sita at some degree, right? Because Sita is also purity. Sita is also the ideal wife. Sita is also the woman who followed in the shadows of her husband. This is who we aspire to be. Or then there are other symbols like Draupadi, whose sacrifice was even greater because, she was willing to be wife to 5 husbands instead of just being following monogamy. And this is really surprising and contradictory, because in the Ramayana, we also find the mention of Pativrita. And one aspect of being Pativrita is that even in your dreams, a woman should only dream of her husband. It is mentioned there. So can you see the inherent contradiction? But we want to also be self-sacrificing, and we want to believe in monogamy. And so if we have any other desire, God help you. If you're getting, young girls who come to me and say, okay, I'm in this relationship, but I'm getting attracted to someone else, and they're so guilt-torn. So we can see where these symbols are coming from. In addition, there is this unconditional mother's love. And it is really peculiar when I think of this, because this is a global collective phenomena. But the fact of the matter is, all humans need social stroking. We know that, which means you stroke me, I stroke you, which means that all relationships are transactional. Where is unconditionality coming into relationships? How can a mother be unconditional in her love? She cannot be, because unconditionality is for elevated saints. Unconditionality is not for normal human beings. And therefore, can a mother keep loving her child if the child keeps rejecting her, dishonoring her, hurting her? I've heard of children who beat their mothers up. Can that mother have unconditional love for that son? It's impossible. But look at what she's expected to be, and she's imprinted with that idea. So she will silently suffer and not speak against her son only because she needs to be the mother who unconditionally loves her child. Then there is the Achi Bahu. There is the only time that we find symbols in our mythology about when they went into action and, became leaders. It's like Rani Lakshmi Bai. When she lost her husband, and when it became her task to save the honor of her larger family or her community or her kingdom. I couldn't look for any archetypal symbols outside of this self-sacrificing mode. So that was one. Then we have pro-patriarchy symbols. So there is Sati Savitri. And I won't even go into these discussions because I think everybody understands them. There is Pati Parameshwar, right? So my partner is God, and I am that maid, because I already have the maid consciousness, which I spoke about earlier, because I put myself last on the list. And then there is also another peculiar anti-women symbols. There is this whole idea of the Sautan, the Dian, and in all of those earlier black and white movies, there used to be the Lalita Pawar kind of mother-in-law, better known as the murder-in-law. So, when I looked at these and I just saw them and I said, wow, there seems to be a design. And the design is separate women from women so that they don't bond together because they are a powerful force. Get them to make themselves subservient to the man and to every man, and not just men in authority, but every man. Imbue in themselves the sense of sacrifice and guilt so that they always remain in doubt about themselves. This is a design so that women don't become too powerful or too equal. That is why you find it mirrored through all mythology. And we hear these things right from childhood, bachpan se sunte aaye. So what is going to happen? That we have embraced these. And this is why we have the problem with wanting to be good, because Sita was good. We are not going to raise a question if our purity is questioned, because Sita was questioned, so any woman can be questioned, and you will have to give proof for it. So I'm saying this cultural conditioning becomes central to your own inability to love yourself, because any degree of sacrifice or compromise is never going to be good enough for us. We will still not be Sita. Now, coming specifically to self-love, it is not gender specific. I find men struggle with self-love as much as women struggle with self-love. So I think we should understand that the self-love is an issue that all humans suffer from. Secondly, we have to demarcate self-love from self-care, because a lot of people mix the two up. Self-care is something that we apply on the outside. So if I'm doing physical exercise, that is self-care. If I'm taking my medicines on time, it's self-care. So it's application, something on the outside. Self-love, however, is something that we do to alter things on the inside, the unseen dimension of my emotional, mental, spiritual bodies. That is where self-love comes into play. And if I see it specifically, your question, how can women increase their self-love? So I'm going to say it, since you're so good at sacrificing things, how about we're sacrificing for others? How about we turn that sense of sacrifice inwards with our empathy? And we learn to sacrifice 4 things. The first thing is, can we stop fitting in? That is very important, because what we think of ourselves is determined by how well I fit the expectations that people have from me. Does my husband think I'm a good wife? Do my children think I'm a good mother? Do my in-laws think I'm a good daughter-in-law? Do my parents think I'm a good daughter? Does my boss think I'm a good employee? All of these things determine my self-worth. I don't have any way of trying to figure out what size I want to be. I will fit everybody else's size. So I'll be a large, I'll be an extra large, I'll be a medium, but I don't care about what my size is. And I'm saying, can we stop enslaving ourselves? Can we stop people pleasing? Can we stop worrying about what are people thinking about me? That is very central for me to be able to love myself, because if I'm going to measure myself by other people's opinions, then I've anyway become a victim, because I have no power and no control over myself, right? So F. The second one is L. Can you please stop being last on your list? Pull yourself out from the bottom of your list and put yourself right on top. Because it's a simple thought. If such a broken woman, unfulfilled woman, torn woman, guilt-ridden woman can give so much, can you imagine if a woman was fulfilled, what her capacity for giving is going to become algorithmically multiplied? We don't realize that. If we are happy, you'll see when you're happy, your ability to give is magnified. So that will happen automatically. Don't worry about that. Just worry about putting yourself first on the list. And you will naturally be the good nurturer and the good, taking care of everyone else if you take care of yourself. Then there is this constantly undermining yourself. Can you stop needing validation? Can you stop thinking that I belong to the weaker gender? Can you stop ascribing to this subliminal Abla Nari syndrome? Can you stop thinking that I don't have the confidence to do these things? And very often this comes into play with, for example, technology, and women will say, I don't know this as well as, the boys do it better. Don't genderize everything in your life. Just drop the genderizing and saying it's all a matter of skill sets. And these are skills, these are life skills I need to embody, and go ahead and learn them. Whatever needs learning. And I think at this point in time, I'd like to mention that, we get very driven by these anthropological symbols of men are hunters and women are nurturers. And they drive our belief. And I'm saying, oh my God, that was relevant in the primitive era, Stone Age. Everything has changed today. Women are as much hunters. They're going out. What was a hunter? He was putting the food on the table. Women are earning and putting the food on the table today. So we are not in the hunter-nurturer arena at all. We need a new anthropological model to understand genders, if at all we want to understand genders. And I'm saying, why do we want to genderize? Why can't we just look at human capacities instead? And the last aspect is this cultural role modeling and conditioning that I've just spoken about. We need to consciously, we need to remove it. Remove these filters of wanting to be good. So every time you're struggling with, I need to be good, or feeling I'm not good enough, ask yourself, what is making me feel this way, and how can I remove this filter from myself? So having done or given up or sacrificed these 4 things, fitting in, being last, undermining yourself, and cultural role modeling, then you need to focus on knowing yourself. What are my needs and wants? What are my dreams and desires? What are my beliefs and barriers? What are my triggers and tendencies? And what are my fears and virtue capacities that I have, and those that I want to curate or build? Next, please build healthy boundaries. Women have a problem saying no. We say yes too frequently. So can we raise our hands and say, sorry, I can't do this right now? Learn to say no. Next, please forgive yourself and forgive others. Because every time I feel guilty, I'm blaming myself and I think I have erred, I have made a mistake. So I think a woman needs to daily forgive herself. Because every day she's got a guilt sort of laundry list for herself. Put yourself first, ask for help. We are very good givers, but we suck at asking. So ask freely. If you're not feeling up to something, please request your partner, please request your friend, please request your bosses, your colleagues. Can you please do this for me? Or can you step in for me? Or I'm not feeling up to this, and can you do this for me? Asking is very important. Also, allow yourself to make mistakes. Women have a huge problem making mistakes. So every day we must give ourselves permission. It is okay for me to make the mistake. It is okay for me to learn and grow from it. And it is okay for me to implement that knowledge in the future, rather than pulling ourselves down because, oh my God, I made that mistake, and for the next many years, I'm going to carry that burden on my shoulders. Address your lacks, stop sacrificing. And the last, most important, please balance work and rest. We constantly talk about work-life balance, but women never balance work and rest. They work at office, they come back at work at home, they work for their children, they'll be the first ones to wake up and the last ones to fall asleep. Please balance work and rest, because you need to learn how to value yourselves.